Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Right now, the business world is going through a bit of an enterprise AI identity crisis. I mean, you hear the term AI thrown around in literally every meeting, right? But figuring out how to deploy the exact right tool for your specific business problem, that requires untangling what these technologies actually do. So today, we're going to break down the core focus of predictive versus generative AI, exactly how they work, when to use each, and ultimately how they're converging to create the autonomous systems of tomorrow.
While everyone uses AI as a massive catch-all term, the entire field is actually split right down the middle between two fundamentally different questions. If you ask a machine, what will happen, you're looking for a verifiable forecast based on hard data. But if you ask, what could this look like, you're asking for a creative interpretation, a synthesis of patterns into something completely brand new. Understanding which of those two questions you're actually trying to answer is the absolute first step in deploying the right model.
So, let's jump into Section 1, Creation versus Forecasting.
To really understand how these models work under the hood, we first need to define the distinct superpowers they bring to the table. Let's kick things off with the one hogging all the spotlight lately, generative AI. This is your creative engine. It answers our "what could this look like" question by generating entirely novel content that quite literally didn't exist a second ago. It learns the deep underlying structures of data. You know, how words form a coherent sentence, how pixels come together to form a face, or how logic builds a piece of code. And it uses that understanding to synthesize original outputs. It isn't just retrieving a file from a server, it's actively creating.
And honestly, this number brilliantly illustrates its impact. 100 million. That is the staggering number of users ChatGPT reached in just 2 months after it launched. It's a metric that proves just how incredibly hungry the world is for automated creation. We all just immediately recognize the value of having a digital brain that can draft our emails, write scripts, or brainstorm ideas on command.
But then, on the flip side of the coin, we have Predictive AI. Think of this as a superpowered weather station for your business. It answers what will happen based on cold, hard, historical evidence. Now, it doesn't create new text or paint pretty pictures. Instead, it uses rigorous statistical analysis and machine learning to hunt down deep correlations in your past data, forecasting future outcomes with incredible accuracy. It is the analytical backbone of any serious data-driven decision.
And while it might not make those flashy front-page headlines, predictive AI is an absolute heavyweight. Get this, $35 billion. That's the estimated amount predictive AI quietly saves businesses every single year, just by optimizing supply chain decisions. It anticipates bottlenecks, forecasts product demand, and basically prevents costly logistical nightmares before they ever even happen.
All right, moving on to Section 2, Under the Hood.
What's really fascinating about these two AI paradigms is how their internal brains run on completely different diets of data. Generative AI, it thrives on chaos, unstructured data. We're talking about billions of scraped internet work, raw image pixels, random snippets of code. It needs this massive, messy diversity to understand the broad context of human creation. Conversely, predictive AI is highly organized. It demands clean, strict logic, structured data. Think perfectly aligned database rows, pristine historical sales columns, and precise sensor readings. It absolutely needs that order to find accurate statistical correlations.
And because their data diets are so completely different, what they spit out is totally opposite. Generative AI produces human-like media, a draft of a novel, a synthesized image, maybe a piece of music. Predictive AI, however, spits out cold, hard facts. Statistical probabilities, specific classifications, risk scores. So one might write a highly personalized marketing email, while the other gives you the exact percentage likelihood that a specific customer will actually open it.
In practice, building a predictive AI follows a very precise analytical loop. You start with gathering your data, then move into pre-processing and feature engineering, which is basically just cleaning up the data and highlighting the most important variables. Then comes model training, where algorithms learn the patterns. Finally, you get to the actual prediction, backed by a constant feedback loop to keep the model sharp over time. It's incredibly systematic. Generative AI architecture, on the other hand, is a bit wilder. It relies on complex neural networks like transformers, which process entire sequences of data all at once, and diffusion models, which literally learn to turn random static noise into high-resolution images. It even uses things called GANs, or generative adversarial networks, where two neural networks essentially compete against each other to hallucinate and refine highly realistic new data. It's way less of a linear calculator and a lot more like an artificial imagination.
Let's move to Section 3, Real-World Applications.
Let's step out of the theoretical for a second and see how these models solve completely different operational bottlenecks when you map them out side by side across major industries. In finance, predictive AI acts as the shield, catching fraud in milliseconds, while generative AI is the scribe, instantly drafting quarterly reports. In healthcare, predictive models are calculating patient readmission risks, while generative models are out there actively simulating and designing novel drug molecules. And in retail, predictive algorithms forecast exactly how much inventory you're going to need, while generative AI writes the catchy SEO product descriptions to actually sell it. They are two halves of a whole.
So what's the crucial takeaway here? When should you use it? Predictive AI is your operational shield. It's all about optimizing resources and mitigating risks before they bite you. Whether it's alerting a mechanic to replace a factory part right before it breaks, or flagging a user who is right on the edge of canceling their subscription, predictive models lock down your vulnerabilities and maximize efficiency.
Meanwhile, generative AI acts as your creative accelerator. It shatters human bottlenecks. It massively scales productivity by doing the heavy lifting in coding, synthesizing fake training data to feed other models, generating thousands of personalized marketing assets in seconds, or even building entire interactive video game worlds on the fly. It is the ultimate amplifier of human output.
Which brings us to Section 4, Better Together, looking at Hybrid and Agentic AI.
We've kind of pitted them against each other so far to really understand their differences, but the real magic happens when you combine them in a hybrid workflow. Predictive AI acts as the brain that identifies the what and the when. It flags the insight. Generative AI then acts as the hands that execute the how. For example, a predictive model analyzes web traffic and flags that a high-value customer is about to leave. Boom! Instantly, the generative model takes that alert and drafts the highly personalized, targeted email offering a specific discount to win them back. The prediction triggers the generation.
And this exact synergy, it's driving what is arguably the most thrilling paradigm shift happening in the field right now. The rise of model-native agentic AI. We're moving way beyond just having two separate tools talking to each other. Instead, we're seeing the core capabilities of agency, things like strategic planning, using external tools, managing long-term memory, all being progressively internalized directly within the parameters of a single, massive large language model.
Think about how we used to build these systems versus where we're headed. Historically, we relied on pipeline-based agents. Engineers had to write these clunky, brittle, handcrafted scripts to pass data between a predictive tool and a generative tool. If the environment changed even a little bit, the pipeline broke. But now, we are shifting to model-native agents. These are unified models trained end-to-end. They don't need a human-coded pipeline to tell them what to do next. They autonomously combine the strict reasoning of predictive analysis with the wild adaptability of generative creation, all inside one cohesive brain.
And how are they pulling this off? Well, as this quote brilliantly points out, the secret sauce is large-scale reinforcement learning. Instead of just feeding an AI static examples of human text to copy, reinforcement learning drops the model into an environment, gives it a goal, and just lets it explore. It learns to predict outcomes, try different generative strategies, and refine its own behavior based on what actually succeeds. It transforms the AI from a passive copycat into an active, strategic explorer. So, to wrap up this explainer, the line between forecasting the future and creating it is rapidly disappearing. Predictive and generative AI are no longer just separate tools in your toolbox. They are converging into autonomous, model-native agents capable of truly incredible things. So the only question left to ask yourself is, how will you combine the foresight of prediction with the boundless power of creation to build the future of your business?